Hey guys, Ryan said, Lake St. Clair Fishing Guide. Doing a series of videos helping people get used to Great Lake fishing, understanding what it's about, how to catch these smallmouth, going over some of the techniques, some of the rods, the reels, some boat driving things. In this video, we're going to talk about tube fishing. Tube is an essential bait out on the Great Lakes. It's probably not my #1 bait. It's probably about my 3 or 4 for me, but it is an essential bait and catches some of the biggest fish I've ever caught have come on tubes. For whatever reason, it seems to attract a larger quality of fish. There was a time when tubes were it, but since the water has gotten clearer and clearer up here, we've got a lot more bait fish in the lake. Drop shot's kind of taken over. It's probably your #1, but I don't leave the dock without a tube, at least in my boat. And most of the time it's tied on in the rod locker, and there's certain times of year when it is dominant. So I want to go real quick over the when, the what, and the how on a tube. Hopefully you'll be able to get some information out of it. So as far as when I throw the tube, the best times for me that I found for the tube are it's early in the season. April, mid-May, and into June a little bit. When it's colder like that, there's something about the tube that they seem to like a little bit better than most other baits. And again, that's when I've caught some of my biggest fish of the season. And then again in the fall, when the weather starts turning, especially when the water gets a little bit of color to it, temperature starts dropping, they really seem to like that tube a little bit more. But that being said, I always have one in the boat. One of the biggest fish I've ever caught came in the middle of the summer on a tube. When you get like crawfish hatches and that's a good time to throw a tube if you're catching smallmouth. I got crawfish tentacles sticking out of their throat, or you see them spitting up crawfish. A tube is a great choice there. So I always have one on. It's a great bait. It mimics the gobies that we have up here. It mimics the crawfish, and it mimics some of the bait fish as well. As far as what, similar to the drop shot, I like medium light rods. I have found that myself and my clients, we land more fish throwing medium light rods with the braid and fluorocarbon leader. If you're a person that doesn't like to do the braid thing, then maybe you want to go up to a medium action rod, but I really encourage you to do the braid thing. You're going to save a lot of money on your line, and then you don't have to change it out as much, and you get a better hookup, and you get more sensitivity out of it. There's really not many downsides to fishing braid, so I really encourage you to pick up that braid. The 15-pound braid is what I use, P-line. I attach it with a Alberto knot, and it's a pretty simple knot, especially if you're just starting out with that braid to fluorocarbon leader. Alberto knot's a really good place to start. I use usually a 10-pound leader on my tube almost always. If I can get away with it early in the season, we got some watercolor, I'll actually jump up to a 12-pound, because why not? Why not get a little bit of extra power there? Again, I like that medium light rod most of the time. I do like a little bit longer rod with my tube if you can. My clients catch plenty on a 7-foot medium light rod. A lot of times I like to go to a 7.3 or 7.6. You just get a little more leverage and a little more distance out there. And then I'm not worried about that distance because that braid's gonna still give me a good hook set way out there, right? So that's the kind of rod I use. I do like as well a 3,000 size spool reel with this. Again, I like to make those long casts with that tube, get it way out there, crawl it along that bottom. I like to throw it a lot when it's windier out as well, so there's a lot of times you have a lot more line out when it's windy like that. As far as the tube itself, darker waters, darker colors for me. Today I was out fishing, it was kind of an overcast day, water was a little darker, so I had this smoke with some purple and gold. As the water gets clearer, sunnier days, I go with more lighter colors, even lighter shades of green pumpkin, some light smoke colors and things like that. A little bit of gold flake, they seem to like some kind of flake in it. A little bit of purple or gold flake, for whatever reason, they seem to like that a bit. At times I'll even dip the tails a little bit in a little bit of orange, like some crawfish. But basically, if you stick to darker colors on darker days and lighter colors on lighter days, you're going to be doing just fine with the tube. As far as weights, I like a 3/8 ounce weights most of the time. If it's super windy, I might have to go to a 1/2 ounce. If it's super calm, I might go down to a 1/4 ounce, but a 3/8 ounce is a good middle of the road. If you're fishing Lake St. Clair, you don't need a ton, but if you're planning to come to Lake Erie, you're probably going to want to buy 20 or 30 jig heads. You might go through them with all the rocks that we have here, so just keep that in mind as well. But St. Clair's pretty clean bottom. Probably don't need quite as many out on St. Clair. I like the brand Bite Me, is the one that they make. I'm not sponsored by them, but they make a real good jig head, and as you can kind of see here, it's kind of got a fat head to it. It kind of mimics that goby again, or a crawfish tail or something like that. So got a real nice light wire hook, so that's usually what I use. 3.5, 4-inch tube. I'm kind of partial to the Strike King coffee tube just because I like that 3.5-inch size. Seems to do real well out here. It's not too big, not too small. As far as the how to throw a tube, I kind of said it earlier, make a long cast. I like a real long cast with a tube. If you watch my drop shot videos, you'll hear me talk about the importance of it falling on a slack line. I get clients all the time, they throw that tube out there, they throw it out there, and the very first thing they do as soon as it hits the water, they shut their bail, and that's the worst thing you can do. A lot of times, and especially with the tube, as much as a drop shot, they will hit that on the initial fall. If they see it coming down, they get very curious about that, and they will go over there and swim it. But if you flip that bail over, their tube is just going to swing down through the water column, and it's not going to land where you want it to land. So please make sure, biggest thing you can do for yourself is throw that thing out there, let it fall to the bottom on a slack line, and then pick it up and check it. And with braid, it doesn't matter how far out there, you're still going to be able to feel it real well. So make a long cast, and then I just like to drag it real subtle on the bottom most of the time. Think of a little crawfish, a little goby. I might give it a little bit of a hop here and there. A goby, if you don't know what a goby is, it's a little like guppy looking little thing, but they don't have a swim bladder. And so a lot of times when their gobies are going along the bottom, if they get spooked, they'll jump up and then they come back down real quick. So not a bad thing to hop the tube, but also not a bad thing to just drag it on the bottom like a little crawfish crawling along the bottom. So really, it's wide open with the tube. You can basically do anything. I've seen guys that'll rip them way off the bottom, and I've caught some fish doing that too. So it's definitely something to experiment with. There's not really a wrong way to fish it unless you're not getting it down within some proximity to the bottom. So those are my tips on fishing a tube. Hopefully you found them useful. A tube is a lot of fun to fish with out here. You get real good contact with the bottom, and it's a lot of fun feeling them bite that tube. So hopefully they're helpful for you. Feel free to contact me if you have more questions. I love talking fishing, so Facebook, Instagram, hit me up. I'll be happy to talk with you about it. Thanks for checking out my video, and we'll see you on the next one.